Welcome into the Daily Wolves podcast. I am your host, Evan. This is the Daily Wolves Courtside. Welcome in. We are going to talk today about the Timberwolves' tough loss against the Pacers last night. What kind of went wrong, and maybe career night, game-changing night for a guy like Obi Toppin, who I guess is the next Michael Jordan. We found that out last night. Andrew, how you doing today, man?
Good, man. Frustrating loss. That's all you can say. It's frustrating.
Yeah, tons of frustration for sure because it's one of those games where before the game, again, a team comes out and says they have four of their five starters out, six players, I think, total. They were basically just giving you the game and just saying, we got guys banged up. It is what it is. We'll take the L, we'll move on. But these guys that the Pacers have, they came in and they just played hungry. I thought they played incredible. McConnell was amazing last night. I think he had like 11 points, 10 assists or something. But he was awesome. Obi Toppin had the game of his life, 34 points, went 7 for 10 from three, 70% from three. He's a 33% shooter this year from beyond the arc. So, an incredible shooting performance from Obi Toppin. He was 4 for 4 in overtime, Andrew. Obi Toppin went 4 for 4 from three in overtime. He hits a bank shot in overtime, three-pointer, and it goes in. Like, that's insane. And I'm thinking, no way that just rattle in. Then he comes out and he shoots a fadeaway as he's running to the corner. For people who have seen the video of it, there's like 3 seconds left and hits this game-winning three-point shot against the Timberwolves. And it was just his night. And sometimes it's so hard and it's like frustrating and you're like, we should have won it. But it's also like sometimes, Andrew, it's just somebody's night. It just was. And Obi Toppin had that game that he'll never forget for the rest of his life last night.
Yeah, I think that's the frustrating part. I mean, Obi Toppin 12 points in overtime. Thomas Bryant also had 3 points in overtime. Like it's
Mhm.
just Finch after the game, like Katie Storm of Fox Sports, like asked him, like, what happened, man?
Mhm.
And Finch said it. I mean, we lost the game in the first quarter. Like we came out flat, we came out no energy, we came out not focused, and the game got away from them. And like, yes, that is a very oversimplification. Like they didn't lose it in the first quarter, they lost it at many other periods of the game. But
Mhm.
like when you come out so flat against a team like the Pacers, which we've seen it with the Wolves, right? Like Jalen Clark gets the start. He's playing his ass off the entire game. Terrence Shannon gets big minutes. He's playing hard because those guys know all of what they're doing tonight. The Pacers, every guy on that team knew, like, this is a tryout film. If I'm awesome tonight, I might make the team next year. Quentin Jackson isn't like a big name for them. Isaiah Jackson isn't a big name from them. Obi Toppin just got a big contract and is trying to live up for it. Like, these guys are putting stuff out on film of like, this is what I can bring if given the opportunity. I think the other thing that like the Pacers did really well, and credit to
Mhm.
Rick Carlisle as tweeting about it during the game, but like they obviously came out with the intention of we are going to play hyper physical. I mean, they were crowding the lane, they were stepping on people's feet, they were hard screening, daring refs to call every single foul. And sometimes that bites you in the butt because you get 7 fouls in the first 7 minutes of the game, and then the team's living in the bonus for 5 minutes and they just
Mhm.
hunt free throws and it's over. For the Pacers, it seemed like they really got in the Wolves' head in the first half, meaning that like Ant kind of stopped driving in the first half and just started doing pull up threes. Jaden wasn't really involved in the first half, driving especially. Donte and Nikhil, I think, were 1 for 7 in the first half from threes. Like
Mhm.
their physicality forced the Wolves to just settle for threes, which again, it's a double-edged sword because there are some nights where Ant will hit all 4 of those threes. But when he's off, I mean, that's just the perfect game plan. Just bully him. I think the third quarter, like the game kind of changed a little bit after Rudy, saw Mike get a forearm shiver, and then Rudy just decided to like truck Nemhard out of the game and you
Mhm.
know double ejection. I think the refs kind of corralled it a little bit, or at least like the players kind of corralled it a little bit. Ant started getting like the SGA whistle where he was driving to the lane and getting free throws at will. Aiden started playing a lot more aggressive. He started making a couple like runners and his weird Jaden stuff that he does. But like the reason it's lost in the first quarter is like if you were to just go up by 15 and like snap this team's will, the game's over. You don't have TJ McConnell going off in the fourth. You don't have Obi Toppin hitting overtime threes. I mean, Obi, other than overtime, wasn't awesome tonight. Like he was fine, you know. TJ McConnell, other than the fourth quarter, was struggling tonight. Like they were hunting him on switches with Ant. It's just unfortunate because you look at this game and I looked into it and the Wolves have really only lost 10 games this year against sub 500 teams, which is oddly in the top half of the league for like taking care of business. But there's just these games that you can keep pointing back to. The Wizards game with Kuzma, the back-to-back against Portland they dropped, and this one where it's just now their road gets a lot harder because they still 50 wins is still probably that 4 or 5 seed mark. And if they want a chance at a home playoff game, they're gonna have to now go 10-2 the rest of the way.
I mean, last night too, if things couldn't go more wrong, they have an opportunity, the Pacers, to shoot those free throws from the ejection, and Finch can choose. The opposing coach gets to choose a player to shoot the free throws, and they choose Freeman, and he chose that wrong. And Freeman hits his two, comes in the game just for that period of time, hits them, and it's just like, man, everything's just going right for the Pacers. But credit to them. I thought Bradley was huge for them. Tony Bradley last night. 12 points for him, was like a G League player, barely plays. They had another two-way talent or a two-way player that who was it last night? Jackson. I think he's a two-way contract. He had 13
Yep.
points last night. They just came out, and those guys, like you said, it's a tryout for them. They played so hard. I thought Benedict Mathurin had a really good game for them, 22 points. He was affecting the game. Jarris Walker was playing so physical. I noticed that when they're trying to beat them down. But yeah, the first half, it looked like Minnesota didn't have any interest in playing defense at all. They looked like, if anything, they were trying to play offense. But on the defensive side, they looked like it was an option for them. And you just saw it, especially in the first quarter there when it's 30-30 at the end. And you're thinking, boy, if Minnesota plays any defense, they're going to blow out this team. And then they come out in the second quarter and they only score 16 points. And it's just, then you're down. You're down 14 at half, and you got to come back. And they did come back. Credit to them, but by then it's an uphill battle. You're putting yourself in a hole, which this team keeps doing over and over, Andrew. And the 3-point shot, like you said, when it's not falling, it kills them. It just absolutely kills this team. Anthony Edwards went 1 for 11 last night from 3. Just ate the Wolves so alive. In the overtime period, Anthony Edwards was shooting threes himself. I think the Wolves went 1 of 4 in OT, 4 for 4 for the Pacers. There it is. There's the ball game. Going for these game winner kill shots. You saw it at the end of the game again, Andrew. Game on the line. We could go for, the target to drop a play at the end of the game. There's about 3.5 seconds, I believe, on the clock at the time. If you miss, you go to overtime, but you can hit a game winning shot or draw a foul, make one of the 2 free throws, and you win the game. But it gets inbounded. Ant bobbles it a little bit. Jaden's open at the other side of the court. I'm not sure what was going on. He still had time, in my opinion, to get it to him or to a different player, but he dribbles it to his spot on the left side, pulls up for 3, misses it again, goes for the kill shot, goes for the hero shot every single time. I mean, it's just horrible. It's horrible basketball. Before I kick it to you on the Ant thoughts, I just have to read this stat real quick because the stat blew my mind about Anthony Edwards after that shot. So there have been 248 players to take at least 20 shots to tie or take the lead in fourth quarter / overtime since tracking began in 1997. Anthony Edwards, after last night's game, is 2 for 23 on that type of shot. That is 8.7%. That is 247th out of the 248 players that have ever done that. Think about that. That is insane.
I mean, Finch talked about it post game, and like credit to the beat reporters on the Wolves. I know sometimes like John, Jace, Chris, Britt, I mean, they can take some heat online and on Twitter. I see it all the time, but like they do ask the tough questions. Like
Mhm.
after the game, like John Krasinski asked Finch directly, like, you know, what happened in clutch time? Like what's going on? Like Finch gave an answer. Jace Frederick asked the next question of like, you know, Ant was getting to the line like pretty much at will. Like, what is it with these pull-up threes? Finch answered the question, kind of dodged it, made it a whole team type thing. And then like 2 questions later, Britt Robinson came back and was like, so these pull-up threes, like what the heck? And Finch again like answered the question, but made it. Finch is really good at not naming players in public, which I think is part of the reason why team really loves him, because he doesn't throw guys under the bus. But like one of the quotes he threw out was like in regards to clutch time. He was like, I just thought at times when we had chances to take control of the game, we were wild. We were playing too fast, out of control. There was no need for that. He then went on to talk about like kind of other issues, but then he circled back to it and he's like, there's a lot of different ways to close out a game and not just making winning shots. And that's what we've not been able to do. And he also mentioned that, like, you know, Ant has a tendency to go for these kill shots when maybe he doesn't need to, or when they are like humming and the offense is going, people will pull up threes, or early in the I think he said quick trigger threes and early in the shot clock threes, kind of obliquely, again, not mentioning Ant by name, but like when he's saying that, we all know it's Ant, and to some extent Donte. Like Donte also has a tendency to do these like really good heat checky fast break transition threes. But I mean, for Ant, I think what's frustrating is we've now had a big enough sample size where we can look at these clutch time performances, right?
Yeah.
And what's frustrating for me as someone that just genuinely loves basketball is Chris Finch calls the timeout. They go into the huddle, and you can see that Chris Finch drew up a play. Like Jaden's open in the corner. In the overtime play with Julius Randle, Donte is swinging behind him looking for like a dribble handoff. Like you can see that Finch has drew something up to like get ball movement or get some type of motion or some type of action to get someone open. And just consistently what happens is the ball gets inbounded to Ant, and it's almost like he rips the playbook in half and just decides he's going to do it on his own. And I mean, I might put together like a compilation of it at some point in the next week or so, because looking at other players' body language is starting to get kind of telling too, where like Jaden's wide open in the corner. Jaden is one of the most stoic players on the team, but like when Ant heaves that three, he just kind of like walks back to the bench. Donte earlier in the year was open in the corner on a play that was supposed to be like a flare to him, I think. And Ant heaves a three, and Donte just like gives him like a what the F look. And it's not something that's going to like tank a team's chemistry, but I think it's something to monitor, because I don't think most of these plays are meant for Ant to just sidestep dribble three. I think most of them are probably inbound to Ant. He hands it off, gets off ball, drives, like what have you. But Chris Finch is too good of a coach, in my opinion, especially with like play calling and out of timeout stuff, for this to be what he's drawing up.
I mean, the Wolves now have missed their last 11 game tying or go ahead shots in the final 10 seconds of the fourth quarter and overtime. They've missed their last 11. They're just, I mean, again, it's these questionable shots. It's the body language. I think that's a lot of the reason in the beginning of the year there was issues with this team is it looked like guys were frustrated, or people, it was always Julius Randle or Anthony Edwards isolation ball, kind of everybody watch, get out of our way. We're going to take turns doing our own thing, and we're not going to pass it. And it used to just drive us nuts. And then they start playing really good. And you see all these great habits and these great things, and they look like they're trying to break out. And then you see these comebacks. Well, at the end of the game, when they have a chance in these clutch moments, they aren't doing it. They still aren't doing it yet. I know you want to go for the home run play. There's a lot of times I feel like Anthony Edwards, to close out a game, there's 24 seconds on the shot clock. Minnesota gets the ball across the court. By the time he gets the ball across the court, it's about 20 or 4 seconds off the clock, 20 seconds still on the shot clock. for no reason, just will rifle off a three. And that's like a killer. When you're up like maybe 2 points or 3 points, or you're up one, I mean, they had that insane and one from Anthony Edwards last night. I think they're up 5 points with a couple minutes
Mm-hmm.
left, and you feel like Target Center's rocking. You feel like you're in the Pacers' head, and then you go down, and you just start rifling off threes, and it's like I think Anthony or I think I texted you about it where Donte just caught it and instantly just shot a three and it doesn't go in, and then Ant shoots a three, it doesn't go in, and those two possessions just killed Minnesota at the end of the game when they had a chance to really just take control of it, slow it down, burn out the clock. You had also what was killing me last night is we see Mike Conley not always on the court at the end of the games, but
Mm-hmm.
Finch chose to close with him and he was playing really good. I think Conley was like a plus 24 last night. Like he was amazing. Um,
Yep.
and so what to me, what was crazy and why it was so frustrating too is, well, he's the point guard. Why is
Yep.
Anthony Edwards bringing the ball up the court right now? Um, I mean, you have Mike Conley. He's playing fantastic. Like he's your floor general. Give it to the vet. Give it to the guy who's going to calm everybody down. And it was just like Mike was just ignored. Like he wasn't a part of it. And Mike was okay with it too. But I feel like in those instances,
I think what I'd say is like, I don't know if Mike's okay with it. Like Mike is the consummate professional, right? Like they talked to him after the game in the locker room, and he was just like, "Yeah, we got it. Like this was just a shitty game." But like, my guess is if we ask him about it a couple days from now, he's going to be like, "Yeah, I need to call for the ball in that situation. I need to be aggressive. I need to assert myself." I think it's just hard for like Mike Conley is just at a different stage of his career. I think if he was 28, there's no question the ball's inbounding to Mike Conley.
yeah,
I think it's hard when you got a guy like Ant who I mean, Ant was good last night. Like outside of the
yeah,
three-point shooting and the shot chucking, like Ant was legitimately good getting to the
mm,
rim at will. There was not a player on the Pacers that could stay in front or guard him. They were doubling him and he was splitting it. Like Ant, the ball going into Ant, if he were to drive, I think is the best play the Wolves had. But he didn't. 11 times he just rose up for three. I think the
uh,
other thing I just want to make like it is important to like remember, and this sounds like a cop out every time I say it, and I'm going to acknowledge that it sounds like a cop out, but there is
mhm,
a reason that players don't win championships until their mid to late 20s. And this is the reason. Jason Tatum had the same issues in his early 20s. He settled for threes. He wasn't aggressive. His decision making wasn't great. Giannis in his early 20s couldn't shoot threes. Decision making was bad, dribbled the ball off his feet. Even Steph Curry in his early 20s, bad ankles, bad decisions, shot too many threes, wasn't hitting them at a good enough percentage, not a good enough defense. There is a reason that 27, 28-year-olds win championships when they're the best team player on a team and 23-year-olds don't. And it's because they just need time. 4 years from now, Anthony Edwards is not chucking that three. 4 years from now, Anthony Edwards is going, "Oh, they can't guard me." And he's shooting 17 free throws this game. Today's Anthony Edwards, I don't think understands that, which is okay. Again, like it's okay that he doesn't. What's frustrating is the Wolves have put a team around him that have a chance at a championship, but they're relying on somebody that isn't at that level yet, which it could change. It could change overnight. I mean, Ant talked about it earlier this season that the double teams people were using on him was really frustrating. So he just watched Luka Doncic film for like 2 weeks, and now he doesn't struggle against doubles. Like the kid can learn and grow faster than anyone I've ever watched, been around, seen play. But it's just one of those things that like it's super frustrating. It's really annoying that he chucks those threes. It's really annoying that he kind of takes over and throws the playbook out at the end of games.
mhm,
But it's also he's 23. And if you
mhm,
go through the last 40, well, not, I guess I'd say Shaq was the best player on those Kobe Laker teams. So, like, you go through the last like 30 years, no one, I mean, literally no one wins championships when they are the best player on a team under like 26. I mean, it's just It's just a reality of the NBA. It's hard to win it. Jokic didn't win one until he was 27. Kobe, it took him until 2011, 12 to win one on his own. Like, it is okay that Ant is struggling with this right now, because 4 years from now, we're going to look back at this and be like, remember when Ant was just chucking threes?
Yeah, and that's not forgetting Nas Reed, Jaden McDaniels. They're also young, so it's
Mm-hmm.
just you got a younger team out there last night. It's tough. It's tough when they need to find it. Uh, 19 for 20 last night for Anthony Edwards from the free throw line. 19 for 20. Just nothing they could do. Getting to the
Yep.
line and scoring efficiency, and nobody could stop him. Yet chose to shoot 1 for 11 from 3. When he saw the formula, when he saw he was I mean, I don't know how you go 19 for 20 from free throw and think, "I'm getting everything, unlimited calls, and I'm making all of them. It's efficient, and I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'm just gonna keep." And the coaches are probably like, "Please don't do it." When he comes out,
Yep.
"Please don't do it. Don't do this, Ant. Don't do this." And Ant looks at him and goes, "No, Imma do it anyway." It's just like you're a parent telling your kid not to do something, and they just do it anyway. And I think that's what comes down to this team is in the beginning of the year too, this team didn't play always with that intent, and I always felt like Finch got so much blame for it, but it's what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to make Randall wanna do it or Ant or all these guys wanna do it? You're telling them what to do, you're giving them a formula, you're drawing up plays, you're watching film with them and breaking it down with them, you're doing everything. You're giving them a game plan, you're giving them a blueprint and a cheat code, and they choose to do it their way. And so it's just one of those things. Let's let's not over I always say this too. Let's not overreact on a loss too, because we will like they have had some games this year where they have upset teams as well. But I mean, it does feel a little bit less painful, regardless of how I say it's a tough loss. But I do feel a little bit less like hard about it because I just watched the Pacers guys play like Obi play the game of his life, and the Pacers just play the games of their life. I thought Donte was instrumental in the second half, was insane, was a major piece for the Timberwolves last night, was incredible in the second half, but in the first half he was horrendous. Didn't even was like leading the team in plus minus or something, and then just like I don't even know if he had a I don't even know what his points were in the first half, but it just felt like Dante DiVincenzo was just having like the worst game I've seen him play and since the beginning of the season. And then he just I don't know if the Pacers said something. There's a history there between him and Miles Turner in the playoffs and the Pacers in general from the Knicks and him last year when they faced in the playoffs. But all of a sudden, Dante is just hitting a couple shots and you just see him chirping and chirping and chirping at him. And there's a lot of cussing, there's a lot of flexing, there's a lot of just animation on Dante. And it's like, I don't know, nowhere just takes off, and he changes the whole game to me in the second half. He was fantastic. Ended the game with 19 points, and he was awesome later in the game. 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and again, just constantly he was physical. All of a sudden he went from barely playing physical defense to all over them, if not a little bit too aggressive, following more than usual. But he was just talking so much trash last night. Did you notice that watching the game as well? Because that was awesome, man. It kind of gave me like, oh, this guy in a playoff series, he gonna stick up for his guys. We got a dog on the team.
I mean, there's a reason he played like 42 minutes a game last year in New York's playoff run. Like,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, let's just be honest, he is borderline unplayable in the first half. Like minus 18, he is 2 for 7 shooting.
Jeez.
He was kind of doing the same thing as Anthony Edwards, just chucking shots. I mean, and when Donte isn't hitting threes, it's his offense gets real old real fast because he is a very early in the shot clock, calling his number type of shooter. And like 1 for 4 in the first half, second half he comes out and 14 points. Played great. I think Donte is, the further we get from the cat trade, I think, especially with like Dante's age, like he
Mhm.
fits the more Anthony Edwards timeline. But I think he's going to be 29 at the end of his contract in 3 years. Like he's going to get better the next couple of years too. and he plays good defense. He plays hard. He rebounds hard. And it's just a luxury to have a guy like that. That being said, I mean, he was talking a ton that second half. I mean, he was chirping the entire game, which we had a Pacers writer on for kind of the bonus episode this week, and he was saying like Donte was probably the second best player in that series and was leading a lot of that animosity. So we'll see what Monday brings, because they turn around and play each other in 6 days in Indiana. I think it'll be a fun game. And to your credit too, I mean, this is a bad loss. Like, you look at this and this is objectively a bad loss. Even if it's second night on a back-to-back, like, it's kind of ridiculous. That being said, they do play the Pelicans, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia 5 of their last 12 games. They also have the Suns sprinkled in there, which should be a win. I mean, there's still that path for them to go 10-2 and get to a 4 seed. I mean, for that to happen, all the Lakers would have to do is go like 7-5. All that's something that is obtainable. And you look at the standings. I mean, from the 2 seed to Minnesota, there's just 4.5 games separating them. Like, there is still a path for them to get there. It's just like we've seen all year with this team. Instead of just taking the easy win or doing it the easy way, they back themselves into a corner to have to do it the hard way. And so far this year, they have succeeded in doing it the hard way. I mean, they are here because they're doing it the hard way. But it's interesting to see that even still at game 70, they're still kind of choosing to do things the hard way.
So frustrating. So frustrating. If you don't put yourself in all these positions, then I mean, it's just crazy to think that one win, just one more win right now, and they're the 6th seed. They're ahead of the Warriors.
Yep.
They didn't lose against the Wizards. They're the 6th seed. If you won last night, you're the 6th seed. If you didn't have a meltdown in Toronto and fight on court on TV, you're the 6th seed. That's insane. I will say this too for those listening. Thank God the Denver Nuggets came out and helped us out, and our boy Aaron Gordon went crazy, 38 points last night against the Golden State Warriors, because I thought there was no way Golden State was going to lose last night. They came out and said Jamal Murray's out, Jokic is out. We're going to kind of just play these guys, throw in the towel potentially. And the Warriors are out here playing really, I mean, they're obviously the hottest team in the NBA along with Minnesota, and then they come out and they lose. And so, and let's not forget, the Warriors play tonight for those listening. They have to play the Milwaukee Bucks tonight, who are coming to play. And they might not even play Curry tonight because he was banged up yesterday after the game. Steve Kerr came out post game and said, we got to get Steph healthy again. He is so banged up right now. I mean, he carried us over the last month, but right now, I didn't know this from what I saw last night, he said, but he's like, in the game, I watched like Steph was just the way he runs, the way he's moving, the way he's doing everything. I can tell just from coaching him for so long. He's exhausted. He's absolutely exhausted. And we're thinking about potentially, talk to some people. We might rest him tonight against the Bucks. So there's a potential that Curry was already dealing with injury, I believe, was it his ankle or hip? And now he's having an injury to his lower back, which is a newer injury. He's banged up. And the Warriors don't have the easiest schedule coming up, but there's a real possibility they could lose tonight. You could be the 6th seed. Minnesota could be. And it's there for the taking. It's just up to them. Will you take advantage of it, or will you just play with your money? Because you see tonight that if Golden State, let's say, loses tonight, the Wolves look at the standings and they're aware of it. Then do they come out on Wednesday and think we can kind of stroll into this? The Pelicans just lost Trey Murphy for the year. They have all these injuries. We don't really have to do anything. I mean, I guess we'll just see. We'll see if this team rebounds, but it's tough. It's tough because you watch their sample size this year, and they don't always do it, man. They don't always do it, Andrew. So I guess we'll see. Until tomorrow, I guess we won't know.
What I would say is the Pelicans right now are the 4th worst team in the league wins-wise. So they got to lose games. I think they're probably going to come out just like Utah did, and they are not going to play a lot of actual like NBA players. And
Mhm.
I think they're going to do things in their game plan like Utah did. Utah just played drop coverage and let Ant just shoot and do whatever he wanted. And they were perfectly happy with it. Like, I think I would be shocked if New Orleans wins either of these games because they can't. Like, for New Orleans, again, I mentioned it on a different pod. Like, Wolves fans know the feeling of, hey, we just want to see them play a good half and then lose by 20 because we got to get Cat or we want the Anthony Edwards pick. I mean, the other thing I just would say is, like, it is officially time to start watching standings in the NBA. Most teams either have 12 or 13 games left, and like someone will fall. I don't know if it's Denver, I don't know if it's Memphis, I don't know if it's LA. Someone will fall. And if the Wolves just take care of business, they will get that 6th seed. And then how fun is a Denver Minnesota first round matchup going to be?
It would be so fun. Like, it would be a rematch of the West, or the second round, I mean, would be so fun for Minnesota. And Jokic is obviously just an amazing player. He's one of my favorite players to watch now. So it'd be so fun to watch. And there'd definitely be that like rivalry between the fan bases, and shit talking between the players and the fan bases. And um that'd be just such a fun series to get in the first round. But yeah, Andrew, before we wrap things up here, last thing we're gonna put out for you guys, this Friday, Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis. The Daily Wolves is going to be there. We're going to be doing a live podcast show. Along with that, there's a beer release, a Timberwolves themed beer that we are releasing with Head Flyer Brewing. It's called Ant's Secret Stuff. It will be a hazy releasing on tap. Come out, come to the beer release party, watch the Timberwolves take on the Pelicans, hang out with us. There should be a lot of people there, a lot of fans there. It's going to be awesome. Look for that promo video to be coming out soon here for that. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to release my own beer. It's like a dream of mine. So to come out and be able to drink it and watch basketball sounds like, yeah, I mean, you're speaking to every man. That's literally every man's dream, man. So definitely come out. We're also partnered with Better, BETR, in your app store. If you go search that, you can download Better today. Put in the promo code you see on the screen, the Daily SPN, all one word. The Daily, letter S, letter P, letter N, all one word. And we're going to hook you guys up with a $200 deposit match on your first deposit on Better. You can legally bet in Minnesota with the app too. None of that FanDuel stuff. With Better, you can actually go in right now and start betting today. But yeah, Andrew, it's been great having you on. We appreciate everybody for tuning into our episodes. This is the Daily Wolves Courtside. We'll be back tomorrow. So tune in after the Pelicans game when we go live. And as always, guys, go Wolves.
Go Wolves.